let me break down the first thing which you said was nature.
Yeah.
The choice where you live. Now, you are a longevity doctor, coach, physician in Mumbai, India.
Yeah.
Where we let's not lie or to ourselves, like, we don't have the best air, we don't have the best sanitation, we don't have the best hygiene standards, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
How does an average Indian male or female ride this wave, which everyone in the world is right now trying to ride?
Yeah.
And they are at a little advantage of being in a more developed country, lesser population. So, the resources are also higher.
Yeah.
Probably their incomes are also higher.
Yeah.
How do you do this in India?
No, it's damn hard. I won't beat around the bush. There are statistics wherein breathing Bombay air is like having 5 to 6 cigarettes a day. Breathing Delhi air at winter is the equivalency of a packet of cigarettes a day, right? So huge implications, particularly for the young parents out there. I've got 2 young kids, so I think about this almost on a daily basis. We are living in a city, Bombay at least, which is, I don't know if they're looking for oil or what. It's just continuously being dug up and redone. So there's all the dust and the particulate matter and the noise and the sound, etc. And then even if you think systemically, we celebrate a culture of convenience. We celebrate the idea that we can get a vehicle to pick us up from anywhere and take us anywhere without having to walk significantly to catch that public transport. We celebrate the idea that we can have any calorie delivered to this door in less than 10 minutes. Typically the worst calories there can be, which is ultra-processed, high fructose corn syrup type sugary foods. We celebrate the idea that through our devices, we can be connected to the world, but we forget that it is also completely at odds with the circadian rhythm, our ability to sleep, to disconnect, and for the brain to relax and refresh, etc. So some of these are systemic issues because of the culture that we are building for ourselves. And oftentimes I will go head to head with some of the technology entrepreneurs and try and get them to see the other side of the equation. And the other side is the fact that, frankly, we're in a 1.45 billion person country, still developing, still trying to grow ourselves out of these problems. And therefore, there's the environmental standards and effects that they have. But one mustn't sort of give up hope in all of these things. Simple, small things that we can try to control for. For example, have a home which has got a lot of greenery in it, potted plants. If you can afford to have an air purification unit, use an air purification unit, particularly in the winter months when the PM 2.5 is at the highest that there are. Choose your food choices very particularly. So we're very strict at home. We don't eat out of bottles, jars, and packets. Obviously you buy the raw materials, but eat proper whole food, cook whole food.
Examples?
If you're making pasta, my kids love pesto. We'll make the pesto at home.
You won't buy it off the rack.
Exactly. We have a basil plant on our balcony, which we'll pluck the leaves of. We'll get some nice Parmesan cheese and some pine nuts, olive oil, and we'll make the pesto. If you're cooking a bolognese, then make the tomato sauce. And we forget that we also have a country where home help is more abundant than in the West. So we can actually cook real food and eat it as opposed to relying on packaged oven microwave meals. But it just does require some planning. It does require some sort of discipline in what you eat and the taste and all of those things. But you can make these things work in your favor. So
basically what you're trying to say is, say for the Indian family who likes their bhindi dal roti. So don't order because our Indian cooking is great, because a lot of our a lot of what we eat, our roti sabzi, we do make it from scratch. We buy the sabzi from outside in raw, we cut it, cook it, eat it.
Yeah.
It's when we try and get into the whole pasta burger thing is when convenience starts looking.
Yeah.
Because if you ask an average Indian person, somewhere in the conversation they will say ghar ka khana. So that ghar ka khana has actually a lot of value to it because it's being cooked in front of you. You know exactly what's going in and you're in control of it.
Exactly.
Rather than, like you said, like a pesto or a bolognese or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is processed for convenience.
Right. And even the choices of what raw materials are used, like the oil that you will cook with, right? Make sure you're using an anti-inflammatory oil like mustard oil or coconut oil or ghee, right? India has such beautiful A2 ghee that we should be cooking in, as opposed to using the seed oils, which we know are quite inflammatory and raise cardiovascular risk. If you're buying grain to make your rotis at home, try and opt for grains which are non-gluten in origin. So we have jowar, we have bajra, we have ragi, we have millets. These are low glycemic, these are low inflammatory grains that we can consume.
But then again, the argument happens that we are not a gluten-sensitive country.
There is a distinction between gluten sensitivity that leads to celiac disease and gluten sensitivity that drives low-grade inflammation. Because the type of wheat that is being grown today is very different to the wheat that was grown in the 40s and 50s, which was less processed, more digestible by the gut. This grain is more inflammatory. It's hyper-processed. It creates a level of inflammation in the gut, which then leads to a heightened inflammation in the blood and then puts you more at risk of metabolic diseases, etc. Same with dairy products, right? It is true that not everyone is dairy intolerant, but there is certainly a degree of sensitivity. Paneer and yogurt and dahi is excluded from this.
Why so?
Because of the microorganisms that live in those products. So the fact that those organisms exist mean they change the conformational shape of the molecules, and it's no more an inflammatory molecule within the body.
So curd, paneer is all good.
They're great, absolutely great, and great sources of protein as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, like getting back to this thing, so
Yeah.
what else can they do? Eat wholesome food.
Yep.
Home cooked food,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
And
avoid the toxins which we know have bad effects on the body. Smoking, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's vaping, whether it's the the BD type of cigarettes, etc. Chewing tobacco is a massive problem. There's a lot of oropharyngeal cancers which are caused because of these things. So avoiding those sort of toxins, which again culturally are much more prevalent in certain economic strata as well. Movement is a big issue here in the country. I completely understand that we don't have a public infrastructure that supports movement, especially in the metropolitan cities, and therefore we need to create those opportunities to move. I've seen in the corporate world this happen where people are increasingly adopting standing desks, or they have those very simple walking mats that you can put under your desk, which is sort of not even electrically powered, but just human powered, where you're just like you're standing on a treadmill and walking around. People who are visiting airports and getting flights on a frequent basis, I remind them, use the stairs, don't use the escalator. Walk along the travelator. You need not be on the travelator. Make a meeting in your day, a walking or a standing meeting, even with your team. A lot of the corporate offices that exist now, there is always a communal space. So you can make sure you're getting those 10, 12 minutes of walking after a break in between meetings, etc. So that's also really, really important from a movement perspective. What else? Sleep is a big problem in the country. We are amongst the most sleep-deprived countries anywhere on Earth. Absolutely, yeah. And sleep is so intimately linked with so many aspects of longevity. One of the biggest reasons contributions why we're seeing obesity epidemic to the tune of 40 to 50% in certain metropolitan cities as well is because we're also very, very sleep deprived. Sleep deprivation leads to a resistance in the body's ability to use insulin to manage blood sugar. And therefore, we're seeing larger and larger spikes in diabetes, cardiometabolic disease, fatty liver disease, etc. Sleep directly leads to stress and burnout, or a lack of sleep directly leads to stress and burnout. And also sleep deprivation has a long-term consequence for the development of certain neurodegenerative disorders like dementia, Alzheimer's disease, etc. So sleep plenty, sleep early, and sleep with good quality.